Hi, I'm Bob Farrell. We get stories and emails every week from organizations who believe in the magic of giving pickles away. Pickles are those special things you do for your customers that keep them coming back. In fact, we've got so many great ideas that we've decided to hit the road and go talk to some of these all-star pickle givers. Everywhere we went, we asked one question: what's your pickle?
A gentleman came up to the counter one night and he had a very small bag of our ground coffee and a few cents in his hand, and he said that he had forgotten his wallet and he didn't have any money. It's like 52 cents. It's really funny. And I said, well, you can't brew a whole pot with just that. So we took him back to the coffee, got him a pound of coffee, and gave him a pickle.
I've done that myself. I forgot my wallet, but she gave him the coffee pickle.
I was very happy. He actually wrote a story into the local newspaper in a rave column, and it made his whole week.
That's even better. Free coffee led to free publicity. That's the power of the pickle.
What's your pickle?
There are 4 great ways to give world-class pickles. The first thing to do is to connect with your customer, person to person. Just ask yourself, how would you want to be treated? It may look like the manager of this motel is making omelets, but what he's really making is connections with his guests.
Well, the pickles that we give away every day, one of them is something that not every hotel does, is that the general manager gets out there and make omelets for the guest. I can get directly involved with the guest for 2 hours a day, find out how their stay is, and what can I do to make their stay more enjoyable.
If you look and listen, your customers will tell you what your pickle is.
And so I flip the omelets and I get to know them and talk with them. And now I have guests that come back week after week. You know, they stay with us and they say, is Jeff cooking this morning? Yeah, he's cooking this morning.
Way to go, baby, you got it. Onward to the next pickle.
So one of my elderly customers, he was out mowing the lawn while I was cleaning his carpet. When I was all done, I noticed he was out of gas. So to give him the pickle, I went and I bought him a can of gas and brought it back to him so he wouldn't have to walk out there on a hot day.
This kid made a person-to-person connection when he asked himself, how would I want my grandpa to be treated? Good for him. And remember, pickles aren't just for old guys like me.
We always encourage the kids to come in and witness the exam, be part of the exam, listening to the heartbeat, looking in the ears, watch the doctor, give them treats when we're giving them treats, things like that. If they're not wanting to do that, we do have a special area where the kids can go and play. It has lots of toys, games, videos they can watch. Kids are very important when they come in. They're going to have pets in the future, and we want them to remember, hey, Meadow Hills was great when I was growing up, and I want them to be my veterinarian.
Everyone wants a pickle. Here's another pickle story they told me. A busy young couple was heading out of town on vacation. The wife set up the whole thing, made the reservations, canceled the newspaper, notified the alarm company. She did all the planning. The husband only had one responsibility: find a kennel for their puppy. No problem. So he's heading down to the airport with a suitcase in one hand and a puppy in the other. He gets to the kennel, and surprise.
When he got there, found out that the vaccines were not current and up to date. So he called Meadow Hills, what can I do? We told him to go ahead and catch his flight, and we would bring a doctor out to the boarding facility and give the vaccines for him.
Way to go, way to go!
Not only did we make it a good vacation for both of them, but got him out of hot water too.
There are pickles to give away everywhere. Don't forget to look out in the parking lot. This customer came out of her bank to find a flat tire.
So she comes back into the branch and asked if she could use our phone to call a tow company. And I said, no, you don't have to do that. I'll help you change your tire. I haven't done it in a long time, but I'm sure we can get it done. At the same time, a college intern overheard the conversation, and he said, oh, I'll do it, no problem. And goes out there, happily changes her tire for her in 90-degree plus weather. She was thrilled.
This banker came out to find the couple she just helped waiting at the bus stop on a very hot day.
The bank was closing, so you didn't want to leave them there, so I offered to take them on to their next destination.
Eureka! That's the pickle! Once you decide to connect person to person, you're going to find plenty of pickles to give away. The next way to give world-class pickles is to anticipate. That's where you are one step ahead of the customer. You find out what your customer is going to need even before they ask.
It's our red carpet treatment. It's when we knock on the door, the customer answers the door, and we put down the red carpet. Customers are very impressed with that. We put our booties on and enter the home. They're happy to have us at their home because we know we respect them and we respect their property.
If you've ever had guys tromping through your house to fix the clogged sewer, you'd really appreciate that pickle. Pickles are fun to get, but they're even more fun to give.
I'm ready to prepare, to make, to cook, to buy, just to, make them happy. Like once I didn't have a Earl Grey tea, so they said, don't worry, it's just fine. I just bought right away a box of tea, and I went to post office, then I mailed to them. Next time when they came, he said, hey, thank you for tea. People are so nice. They just need a little touch, something special, more than just service, and we can do that.
Some guests, especially foreigners, come in here, they miss their own food. Guests from South Korea, and they like to have breakfast rice. They talk about how are we gonna get the rice. So I went home, I make a rice for them, They, just real. They say that they're gonna come back and they're gonna tell other people to come stay at this hotel.
Homemade rice may be a little thing, but the fact that she anticipated what her customer wanted, that's huge. Give me a team of people like that, and we'll be #1 in any business.
We give them pickle. Okay. We both have accent,
What are your customers going to want or need from you next? Think about it now and put it in place. Anticipate. Maybe it's a free shredding service to help your customers protect their financial identity. Maybe it's extending your hours to do follow-up calls on your patients.
We try to help alleviate fears when we send a pet home.
So we now have a licensed veterinary technician that stays 30 minutes to an hour after we close.
It's a great idea.
That first night is when people are worried.
Did the pet eat that night? Does the pet need to start the medication this evening? And so we devote 1 hour after we close
to make sure everything's going okay.
I hope my clinic is watching this.
Making sure that the client feels that they're well taken care of and that their pet's doing okay.
Sometimes the best pickles are the ones you give before you're asked.
I was actually just walking down the aisle and a couple of ladies were looking at the cookies and they were wondering if the Numinos tasted like Oreos, which is what they were used to eating. I've eaten a lot of Numinos, so I just asked them which flavor they were interested in and grabbed the package, opened it up, and let them taste it.
There's nothing like free pickles. Customers love them.
And when I was done, I just took the package of cookies to everybody else in the store and just let them grab a cookie.
The goal is to find ways to delight your customers. Ask yourself, how can we exceed their expectations? For instance, what would you expect to smell when you walk into a room full of dogs?
The pickles that we give away on a daily basis are, first of all, our chocolate chip cookies, which is a big one because people walk into a veterinary clinic, they don't expect it to smell good. So when they walk in and it smells like chocolate chip cookies, they're just amazed.
I love pickles that smell just like chocolate chip cookies. Here's another one. What would you expect when you call to get your carpets cleaned?
Well, when I get to a job, a lot of times there is furniture that needs to be moved. So I'll go ahead and move the furniture for them. And if I notice that a little leg's wobbly or a little loose, I'll fix that for them.
Perfect.
They're like, well, that's wonderful. Thank you very much. They really appreciate the little extras.
That's not all.
I've cleaned rugs for free. I've changed light bulbs. I know it's just a small thing, but they really appreciate it.
Great job. What's it cost to give a pickle away? A few cents, sometimes a few dollars. But when you don't give pickles away, it can cost you a customer, and that you cannot afford.
Recently, a A guest checked into one of our properties and he had hurt his back, and he had been under the impression that we had recliners in our rooms. We didn't have a recliner in the room. He was pretty disappointed, so our staff went and bought him a recliner.
Wait a minute. They bought him a what?
Bought him a recliner.
A recliner?
A recliner. And the guy was obviously very, very impressed with that, and that will go a long ways to future business because he'll tell a lot of people about that experience. So we got one extra recliner we don't know what to do with, but we got a happy guest.
Give him the recliner. Give it to me. Sometimes you can delight your customer by simply giving them the no-hassle pickle.
We have an elderly customer that came in. It was his first time in our branch. We were getting ready to sign up the account, and he said, I'd like to put my daughter on that account. And I said, oh, is she here today? No, I'm sorry, she has MS, and she's almost incapacitated and can't get out of the house. And I said, oh, can we just bring the paperwork to your house? Really? You would do something like that? Well, of course we will.
A bank that makes house calls?
So we did. We went to his house and had the daughter sign the paperwork, and it was great.
That's a great pickle.
We have a lifelong customer.
The fourth way to give world-class pickles is to inspire yourself and others. That's when you ask yourself, am I willing to do what it takes? For instance, who would you call if your car broke down on the highway? Naturally, this lady called the president of her bank.
One day when I was in a conference with some senior executives, a telephone call came in from Mrs. Deckard, and she told me that she was stuck on the highway with her car, and she had no idea how to get out of that situation.
So she calls the president of her bank. He calls another customer who owns a towing company. He has her car towed to another customer who runs a repair shop.
And she was able to get home that night with a loaner car from the customer that has the used car shop.
Yes, that's the pickle.
You know, Mrs. Deckard represents my mom, my grandmother, your mom. Whenever we can do something a little extraordinary, we're very pleased to do that.
All in a day's work for a banker who gives world-class pickles. Sometimes a pickle could become legendary. This one made the local news.
At first glance, it's hard to believe anyone survived. 3 people were riding in the small Chevy Prism when it was struck from behind.
Heather's mom and sister were okay. They were, had some injuries, but they were awake and around. And Heather was in for open heart surgery, and there was absolutely no promise that it was going to work out okay.
The young woman in surgery had just arrived in town for her wedding. Now she was fighting for her life.
Heather had received a sort of a crush injury to her chest. And this essentially was suffocating the heart, so she was losing blood pressure. She couldn't breathe.
After several hours of surgery, Heather pulled through just fine. Thank goodness. But the wedding, as planned, was certainly in doubt.
When she woke up and said that she wanted to get married, she was almost angelic. She was so beautiful. She was in this little room with like 30,000 tubes in and out of her, but her little blonde hair was all around her. She just looked up at me and said, I still want to get married. And you can't say no to that.
I said to her, we have people here at this hospital that often help with arrangements for public functions. They might be able to help you with this.
So the hospital, I don't know the logistics of it because that's kind of out of it, but we got married at the hospital and it was the most gorgeous setting. I heard that they just had crews out there cleaning, scrubbing the deck. They built a wheelchair ramp for his grandma and
for you because they didn't think you
were
were
really?
Walk. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
The hospital is just moving, right down to the last morning.
The nurses always were there, helping me do everything. And I think the day of my wedding, they helped me bathe, and then one of them brushed my hair for me, and they, helped me put lotion on, just like, they were amazing. They really cared.
She was a beautiful bride, and the only thing that was a little bit different is I was one of the people that knew that she was holding her flowers right in front because she had an incision directly behind the bouquet, but it worked out just fine.
They went with what their heart told them to do, and the nurses and the doctors made it their own story. It was a total hospital effort.
It's amazing what can happen when you put the power of the pickle to work.
We had some guests that were staying at the hotel, and their child was in the hospital having some chemo treatments. And so the staff at the hotel really wanted to do something special for the family. So they called up a local restaurant and said, you know, we would like to buy spaghetti dinner for this family. The child is having chemo treatments, and we just want to help them out. And the restaurant said, so do we. And so they donated the food. They had a big spaghetti dinner. The family just thought it was wonderful. We call it our trickle pickle because it's just one person helping another person helping another person. That's what it's all about.
I love it. The trickle pickle. That's the magic of serving with your heart. It's contagious. Your good service inspires others. If you work in retail, you probably know all about the elderly customer who comes in every day. They don't buy much, and they don't ask for much. They just don't want to spend the day alone. Well, this crew found out that their most frequent visitor hadn't celebrated a birthday in years. So they were going to do something about it.
Birthday, dear Bob. Happy birthday to you.
I've sung Happy Birthday over 10,000 times. And I'll bet you that time it meant something even more special. Remember, if you want to be a world-class pickle giver, start by connecting with your customers, person to person. Ask yourself, how would I want to be treated? Then do it. Next, anticipate your customers' needs. Stay one step ahead of them by asking yourself, what are they going to need next? Then put it in place now. Third, look for ways to delight your customers. Surprise them by asking yourself, how can we exceed their expectations? And finally, inspire yourself and others by serving with your heart. Ask yourself, am I willing to do what it takes to make a difference? That's it for now. Remember, when in doubt, take care of the customer. Give them the pickle. Maybe you're giving away pickles that are different than anything you've seen. If that's true, I want to know about it. Drop me an email, and we'll try to include your pickle in the next show. My job here is done.